Welcome back to Movies TV Mad. You can follow me on Twitter at Movies TV Mad, and you can follow me on Instagram at Movies TV Mad 555. Look at this beautiful man, Dwayne the Rock Johnson, should I say? And he's in his Black Adam muscle suit. We haven't had a clear picture, a full picture of him in the costume yet, but it's sensational, isn't it? Doesn't he look good? He looks fantastic. And the more I hear about this film, the better and the more excited I am. So welcome to my DCEU update. You're thinking, what are you doing back? It's a bit dark, isn't it? Can you wait till tomorrow's Movies TV Mad Daily? Well, I'm hearing a rumour that something huge is going to break, so I could have something huge to report for you tomorrow. Not necessarily going to happen. Take it with a pinch of salt. So we're going to give you some updates right now. But this is a very exciting picture of Dwayne The Rock Johnson in his Black Adam muscle suit. And I'm really, I mean, he looks sensational. I just can't wait for this movie. It's going to be awesome. Margot Robbie does not know when she will play Harley Quinn again. Very, very curious. This is an interview with E! Entertainment, or Entertainment, or whatever you want to call the publication. Margot Robbie doesn't know when she'll play Harley Quinn again. The Suicide Squad actress has no current plans to reprise role. By Clark Collis of E! Entertainment. Warning, this article contains major spoiler for Zack Snyder's Justice League. I'm sure we all watched that by now, right? Margot Robbie has portrayed Harley Quinn in 3 films over the past 5 years, with starring roles in 2016's Suicide Squad, 2020's Birds of Prey, and now James Gunn's The Suicide Squad, out in theatres and on HBO Max August the 6th. But the actress says she's now going to take a break from playing the part of the supervillain and does not know when she might appear as Quinn again. Very curious. It was kind of back-to-back, filming Birds and filming this, so I was kind of like, oof, I need a break from Harley because she's exhausting. The actress told EW in June, I don't know when we're next going to see her, I'm just as intrigued as everyone else is. So that's interesting. Now if you believe her, she doesn't know when she's playing Harley again. I don't believe her. Robbie was also intrigued to discover the ultimate fate of Harley Quinn, or at least the fate of the character which was detailed at the end of Zack Snyder's Justice League. As those who have watched the film will know, one of the movie's concluding sequences is set in the apocalyptic future in which Ben Affleck's Batman describes how Quinn has died in his arms. In fact, when EW spoke with Robbie, she had not seen the sequence and was unaware of her character's demise until we filled her in. What? Said Robbie, genuinely flabbergasted. I didn't know that. Laughs. Thank you for telling me. So, thoughts? I guess it's kind of like the comics, Robbie said. The film version of the DC universe, I actually think they're a lot alike. The comics, you pick up one comic and something's happening, and then you pick up the next comic and maybe that character's not alive, maybe that character's not with that person, maybe that character looks completely different. Each movie is its own sort of thing, and I think that works in the comic book world, and I think that works in the DC film world as well. It's not like Marvel where everything is more obviously linked in a more linear way. It feels like there's so many adjacent stories, worlds and films happening at the same time, and I think she's referring to the multiverse strategy there, and I like this way. I prefer what DC are doing here. So yeah, I didn't know that, but it doesn't necessarily change what other people are able to do with this universe. I don't think. What one director decides, I don't think dictates what another director might be able to pick up and do with the world and the characters, which is fun. I think that's an appealing aspect for directors in the DC world. They can make it their own, the way James did. He didn't have to be beholden to the version that David Ayer, director of Suicide Squad, set up. He could pick it up and make it his own, which I'm sure was more appealing for him. So, there's some interesting points to get through here. So she didn't know that she was killed off in Zack Snyder's Justice League Snyder Cut. She didn't seem put out. She was quite happy about it. And she was explaining to us, it's pretty much like the comics where you pretty much pick up one issue and something's happened, then you pick up another issue and it's different. DC is heading towards the multiverse. This helps directors be able to tell their own stories in their own movies, and I think that's really cool. But What's very curious is that she's taking a break from playing Harley Quinn. There are no immediate plans for Margot Robbie to play Harley Quinn in the near distant future. Now, the distant future is around November or December 2022 when the Flash movie comes out. I would expect to see her in that movie because, as I've said in my other videos, I expect to see every single character, important, vital character, that's taken part in the DCEU Earth 1 since Man of Steel, and I have no doubt she will be involved in that. Now, a few weeks ago, a rumour broke about her directing a Gotham City Sirens movie written by James Gunn. She makes no mention of that, so it sounds like if it's true, they're not ready to announce it yet. But this is a serious question. Do you think Margot Robbie is done with Harley Quinn? I don't see that happening, obviously. People love her as Harley. It would be an outrage for people if she left. But I do see other versions, or at least another version, coming up. Maybe that's the version of Harley we will meet in the Flash movie. But when will we see her again? Well, she's doing Barbie, which we've discussed. I've mocked that film, quite rightly so. And she's going to be involved in the, what is it called? The Pirates of the Caribbean reboot as well. So she's going to be very, very busy. But there's no reason why she can't cameo. And there's going to be a lot of cameos in the Flash movie. And when Barry reboots the universe, everything's going to be in canon. Everything's going to be canon, so everyone can cameo in different people's movies. So it's actually very exciting, but she is taking a break. We'll have to wait and see when and if we'll see her again. I do expect to see her, but as she says, it won't be for a while. I'm guessing we'll see her again in the Flash movie. We'll just have to wait and see. But before we go to our next story, we should discuss this a little bit more. With Margot Robbie saying she doesn't know when she will next play Harley again, it's a distinct possibility that she's actually killed off in James Gunn's The Suicide Squad. In fact, potentially most characters could possibly or probably will be killed off in James Gunn's The Suicide Squad. What does this mean for their potential future? We are heading towards Flashpoint, as I keep on mentioning. So what could happen is, and this is why I expect to see her in the Flash movie, when Barry reboots the universe, we see her appear again, and that's what I expect. But from her saying that and acting a bit, you know, a bit coy, it sounds like she's definitely going to die in James Gunn's The Suicide Squad. On to our next story. Justice League, Quentin Tarantino thinks Snyder Cut movement was really groovy. Quentin Tarantino, the renowned director of films like Pulp Fiction, discusses the groovy movement to get Zack Snyder's Justice League finished by Timothy McClelland of Screen Rant. Quentin Tarantino, the prolific writer and director known for such films as Pulp Fiction, Inglourious Basterds and Kill Bill, recently discussed his love for the groovy fan movement that got Zack Snyder's Justice League finished. The movement in question was released the Snyder Cut, which gained momentum on Twitter following the theatrical release of Justice League, which was not received well by most audiences and critics. The goal of the hashtag was to show fan solidarity with director Zack Snyder, as his true vision for Justice League had been hacked apart and cut together with reshoots from director Joss Whedon to stick together the theatrical cut. While fans petitioning for changes via social media is nothing new, the real twist here is they worked. With the COVID-19 pandemic shutting down theatres and streaming services looking for new content to appeal to quarantining audiences, Warner Brothers made an unprecedented move when they decided to give Snyder $70 million to finish his version of Justice League. Snyder went to work putting the finishing touches on his vision, which found the film running 4 hours long, but it also restored substantial plot details for Cyborg and The Flash, while even changing the film's score. Zack Snyder's Justice League and debuted on HBO Max earlier this year with Ben Affleck as Batman, Gal Gadot as Wonder Woman and Jason Momoa as Aquaman. Among others, it quickly won over audiences and critics who embraced the film as wholly better than the theatrical cut. Tarantino has been making the rounds to promote his Once Upon a Time in Hollywood book, which further expands on his film version. When talking on Cinema Blend's Real Blend podcast, Tarantino was asked about Zack Snyder's Justice League. He was quick to say that he hasn't seen the film, but he loves the fan movement that got it made, saying it was really groovy. Check out what Tarantino said below. Well, I haven't seen it because I don't have HBO Max, but that's something I would like to see. I never saw it when it was at the theatres, but I'd be kind of curious to see this 4 hours. You know, his original version on that, no, I actually thought that was really groovy, and I actually thought the fans were really groovy. The fact they kept persisting on it and everything, because Quentin Tarantino is a fighter. He's dogged. I mean, I love this guy. I think he's sensational. His personality, his ability, and he's not like these people in Hollywood right now. He says it how he sees it, and I kind of respect that. But he's one of the most prolific directors of all time. I love his movies. Tarantino may not have seen Zack Snyder's Justice League quite yet, but it's clear he loves seeing fans back the creative vision of directors, even when studios don't agree. Following the release of the Snyder Cut, Restore the Snyderverse found traction from fans who now want to see Snyder's vision continue on past Justice League. While Tarantino didn't mention the Snyderverse, he's a proclaimed comic book fan, previously stating his love for Luke Cage and Shang-Chi as a child, and he's even been attached to projects like Luke Cage before, bowing out. So with his love of comics and with what fans accomplished for Snyder, Tarantino is likely to check out Zack Snyder's Justice League, which could even prompt him to back the restoration of the Snyderverse. Given Tarantino's nature to talk about everything he loves, the world will most likely be privy to whether or not he enjoyed it. Definitely. I'd love to see on YouTube or somewhere Quentin Tarantino's review for Zack Snyder's Justice League Snyder Cut. First of all, it'd be fucking hilarious. While Tarantino still plans on retiring after his next film, yeah right, his love of movies still holds strong. He continues to champion for other filmmakers' work, and he has also been buying theatres such as Los Angeles Vista Theatre. He hasn't chosen his final film yet, but with projects like his Once Upon a Time in Hollywood book, Tarantino is likely to keep a place in forthcoming entertainment for years to come. I think it would be a tragedy if this man retired, and I hope he doesn't. Before we go to our next story, which is about Peacemaker and the soundtrack, and James Gunn's been talking about it being his favourite soundtrack so far that he's ever done, I need to talk about something quite disturbing. In this, we're continuing on the subject of Restore the Snyderverse community. This is from Ray Porter, who played Darkseid in the Snyder Cut. Wow, so I did a thing because it was to raise money for AFSP. Only reason I did it. Apparently that's a problem for some. I never listened to my friends' warnings about interacting with fans, but my friends were right, and from now on I will heed their advice. Wow, so basically Ray Paul is saying he won't interact with us, the fans. I can understand that, and I have no issue with Ray whatsoever for doing this. It's just very, very sad. A trusting individual, you know, he's given his heart to the fandom, he helped fight for the Snyder Cut like us. Listen, there is something a bit bitter going on. Now, you know, I did a video about this motion comic, and basically they're adapting, I think, Justice League 2 as well as Justice League 3 for a motion comic. Now, I told you how excited I was for that. There are people who have issues with this, but this is the Snyderverse fandom. We all come together when there's events and when it's time to fight, but we're all divided. There's the elite element of the Snyderverse community, and then there's different fractions. Look, I don't understand it any more than you do. And I've spoken about the Snyderverse fandom. I love it. I joined it. I started this channel because of it, mainly, although, and of course for my love for DC as well. But this is not good. You know, he believes he's doing a good thing. I believe he's doing a good thing. I don't know about the politics behind the scenes. But at the end of the day, this is a thing that can help fight and get the fight for the Restore the Snyderverse out there. So what's the problem? And if someone's got any more information about this for me, please let me know. But I'm so sad that Ray has been treated like this, because he's such a pure guy, such a talented guy, and for him to be forced not to interact with us, the fans, anymore, I think that's a very, very sad realisation. And finally, on tonight's DCEU update, Peacemaker's soundtrack is James Gunn's favourite of all his projects. James Gunn opens up about the soundtrack for Season 1 of HBO Max's Peacemaker, calling it the favourite he's put together of his career, by Grant Hermans of Screen Rant. James Gunn opens up about the soundtrack for Season 1 of HBO Max's Peacemaker, calling it the favourite he's put together of his career. Created and written and primarily directed by Gunn, the series will explore the origins of John Cena's DC Comics superhero, a ruthless killer who believes in achieving peace at any cost. Peacemaker will act as a prequel to Gunn's forthcoming DC Extended Universe debut, The Suicide Squad. Despite originally planning to return to Guardians of the Galaxy 3, after concluding work on The Suicide Squad, Gunn found himself developing a spin-off series for Cena's character for fun until DC Films showed interest in the filmmaker adapting a character of the show. HBO Max swiftly picked up the series for an 8-episode first season, all of which Gunn wrote and 5 of which he helmed. Though not officially released yet, Gunn has already teased the possibility of a season 2, and DC Films president Walter Hamada has stated the streamer will continue to develop interconnected series for the DCEU, beginning with Peacemaker, which is a great idea, and I love that idea, by the way, and this makes what's going on with the future of DC Films even more exciting. Gunn took to Twitter to reveal to fans that production on Peacemaker Season 1 had concluded over the weekend. When asked by a fan about development on the soundtrack in comparison to his filmography, Gunn assured he put the time in to deliver a tracklist that lives up to the rest of his works, if not higher. Check out what Gunn had to say below. How could I not mention we also wrapped the incomparable Robert Patrick T2. He has been a joy from start to finish. I saw him a little more than a year ago on Perry Mason and loved him so much. I wrote the role of Augie Smith, Peacemaker's father, for him. We had never met. Wow! Wow! The soundtrack for Peacemaker Season 1 is my favourite I've ever done. I love James Gunn because he's always so positive. At this point in his career, Gunn has become pretty synonymous with crafting iconic soundtracks for his projects. Though Sliver and Super might not carry the same weight as the others, Gunn's blockbuster debut with Guardians helped establish his unique tone, much of which stemmed from the soundtrack at the heart of his films, with Awesome Mix Volume 1 having reached the top of the Billboard 200 chart within weeks of the film being released, and remaining there for 11 consecutive weeks, and 16 weeks total. While a full track list for The Suicide Squad has yet to be released, Gunn's recent revelations of great tracks cut from the film certainly points towards a solid soundtrack for the DCEU sequel. But looking at the success of Guardians Awesome Mix Volume 1, Gunn's high praise for the Season 1 soundtrack of Peacemaker is proving very promising for the HBO Max series. Even if it can't quite reach the same certification charts, the knowledge that the filmmaker himself is incredibly proud of the list and finds it to be his favourite is a great thing to hear for those looking forward to the series. While the spin-off won't arrive until January, audiences won't have to wait for long for Gunn's DCEU debut, as The Suicide Squad arrives on August the 5th. And I think the anticipation is killing all of us now. We just want to see the full finished version of this film. I know that I do. Listen, there hasn't been a DCEU movie since Wonder Woman 84. I think a lot of us want to put Wonder Woman 84 and Birds of Prey behind us. And we're hoping that James Gunn's The Suicide Squad is, you know, a great new era. And when I say hoping, what I mean is that we want all the fans to love it. We want it to do well at the box office. We want the critics to love it. All we can do is cross our fingers. You never know how people are going to react. I do know that every DC movie for the next few years needs to be a massive hit, and everybody needs to react positively to it, or we're going to be in a lot of trouble here. And you know, the DCEU, DC live action may have to wrap up and start again, or never happen again. Who knows? And we don't want that to happen. So fingers crossed. This has been your DCEU update. I will return tomorrow with Tuesday's edition of the Movies TV Mad Daily. Fingers crossed, the stuff that I think break tomorrow does break, so we've got something very exciting to talk about. Until then, I'm Movies TV Mad on Twitter, Movies TV Mad on Instagram, Movies TV Mad, should I say 555 on Instagram, and I will see you on tomorrow's Movies TV Mad Daily. Until then, goodbye.